Hey guys, what's up? Alright. It's Double Deuce back with build video 3. I'm not going to let a little setback of the rocker arm breaking off like that stop me. We're going to keep on with the build. I did get on the old interweb there and I contacted Mona, and he's sympathetic to my problem, so he's going to look into see if he can get me some parts, and that and my starter motor that I need. So I told him, well, I explained I was in the middle of the video when I broke the thing. So that's why when I had kind of mixed the steps up on mine, don't put these rockers in. They only bolt straight down. Don't put them in until you get your camshaft in. Once your camshaft's in, everything's out of harm's way. So I watched the video and kept going over and over to see what happened. Apparently, here's what I did, okay? When I was installing my cam, this lobe right here caught that rocker and broke it off because it was down. It wasn't laying on top of it. It was beside it. So when I was tapping my cam in, that was in the way and it snapped it off. So do yourself a favor, don't put these in. You can get them all done and set them off to the side. And then after you get your camshaft in, grease it all up real good, and then bolt your rocker bars on there. So tonight is Friday night, woohoo, and I was sitting on the couch with the remote in my hand, and I said, you know what, I'm going to build a carburetor. And I'm going to go over a couple of carburetor mods I was turned on to by one of my viewers. And it makes sense because these carburetors have a few, I guess, things that you have to live with, okay? And it seems like he has eliminated that. So I'm going to put the carb together the way the instructions are. And then I'm going to tell you what the mods are afterwards when I put the second one together. And then that will probably conclude the video for tonight, because these carbs are a little bit, you know, you want to take your time and make sure everything's right on these, because it's the heart of the engine, you know, it's what feeds it. So you want to make sure it's all good. So anyway, we're going to start off with part number 28, which is this, which you have them in your blister pack here, your foam pack. Okay, I'm going to set that off to the side. We're taking one number 28, and you dig into your hardware here, and you'll see in the one here there's a bolt set here with 50. Okay, number 50, and you're going to go over here, and there's two white Teflon washers here. They are 53 and 54, but you need number 53. So grab 53 out of there, and now, so I have 50, 53, 28, and now we need number 13. 13 is in this foam pack with all your carburetor stuff. This right here. Grab one of these, set it down. Now this is relatively simple. Stick your nut on first, and I did not Loctite any of this stuff on mine because the washer seems to do it justice and hold it in place. Trying to get the threads started because they're really fine. Boy, it is a tough one. It looks like it's going on straight. They give you your wrenches here for this specific thing. If you see, you got different wrenches to put everything together, and mine is not going on very good. It's kind of tight. So I'm going to take it a couple of turns here and see if it locks up. If it does, then okay, so this is going on tight. Yeah, this is brass, so if it goes on too tight, what's going to happen is it's going to snap that off because it's hollow. So don't force it. Take it out, go get another nut and check that nut. And you might want to look at the threads to make sure that they're, you know, that they're not damaged at all. They look pretty clean. And the nut itself, yeah, looks pretty clean. Looks like it got some junk inside the threads. I'll have to clean that out. So I'm going to get another nut and try this one. You only get 4, one for each carb. Okay, we'll try this and see what happens. And it's still stiff, so it must be that way. Yep, it's stiff, so. Okay, let me get some pliers out here and gently grab this thing. Alright. And put it on there. Now, I'm going to go a little at a time and see what it does. Now, when you got tight threads like that, you can back them off and then tighten them back up again to kind of rework the threads to make sure, because these are tight. Now I'm going to use a little HHS 2000 on there just to kind of lubricate that thing to help it go on. As I recall, my last engine, I think I used a socket on these things, but I was really pushing the limits there with the socket. Because I could have broke it off, you know. Actually, a socket would be a little better because I could at least put an even strain on the thing. Where this way here, you're really putting a lot of leverage off the one side of it, you know. But anywho, we're rolling down in there. Now, what I do is I tighten this nut all the way to the bottom, not super tight, just snug. Okay, we hit the bottom. Now, put on your number 53 washer. And you'll see you got an open end there for your barrel to go in there, and then you have that end for this goes in the small end. Make sure you don't lose your washer, and just tighten it all the way down. Now, one important thing, okay, the reason they have that nut on there is so you can set your adjustment needle at whatever angle you need. So I'm gonna wait until this is all done so I can put these on there, and then I'm going to tighten these up with the wrenches. So now we got that. So we're going to get number 12, number 54 out. Okay. We're going to need number 12, which is in this pack here. Number 12 is right next to the number 13. So we got that there. We'll get our number 54. You'll be able to tell because Now these stick together, okay? So be careful. Now 54 is a smaller washer, okay? And we'll get one of our nipples out. Put that on there. Set it over here for a second. Take this. We'll thread it in. That went in pretty simple. And that ain't the wrench. Don't tell me they don't give you a wrench for that. Nope, they don't. So I'm going to have to tighten that with a pair of pliers. So we don't have a wrench to tighten up the nipples. Okay, I just tightened it, snugged it up with some pliers. Don't over snug it because you can smash that gasket or break that off in there. Now we're going to get another number 54 washer. Did I get it out of there? Guess I'll get my Q-tip with grease again. What did I do with that other one I had? There it is, right there. Okay, that was that quick. Picked it right out. And put that on this end here. So there's two 54 washers that go on that. Now, goes in your hole. That's why you don't tighten it up, because it'll hit the body of the carburetor. Now you can set these sideways or whatever, like so. You can turn these somewhat to, you know, to fine tune them. Okay, so there we got our fuel inlet and our elbow and our carb body. And we'll go to the next step. This is where it gets complicated. Okay, we're going to need number 3, which is your idle stop screw. We're going to need a spring. And we're going to go to number 55, which is the bigger springs for your barrel. And we're going to go back to our thing here and get one of these. It's just a seal, a rubber seal. And then we're going to go back to there again. We're going to get a barrel, which would be number 11. And the seal is number 7, by the way. And we're going to grab a 52, which is, I believe, in here. Yep. There's a little grub screw. Okay, which we got there. And we're going to go back to the foam pack here, and we're going to grab one of the throttle arms. Okay. Now, I'm going to start off by putting the grub screw in the throttle arm. I didn't Loctite these because the throttle arm is plastic, so it kind of, it's pretty stiff, so it ain't going to vibrate out. And just get it started there for now. And we'll take our spring, we'll drop it inside the barrel opening. We'll take our barrel. Now you want the whole side down, like so. Now you see there's a groove in here. Okay. That groove is for the set screw to set in. So what I did, I put my seal on, but I lubed up the inside of the seal because it actually will bind the barrel because it's so stiff in there, you know. And put that over around like so. There's a little lip there, you got to get it over. Get that on that lip. Like so. There we go. Now, take our throttle stop and put our spring on it. Thread that in there. Now you're going to want to look inside the carburetor, and you're going to want to turn this up, push it up and down a little bit and turn it to find that throttle slot that's in there. Or you could put the seal on last, because I'm going to take it back out again. That way you can get that started first. The seal will just slide over anyway. Okay, so we got to be over here somewhere, like so. These are kind of tricky to line up. One thing I did do to mine was I actually lubed the inside of the barrel. So don't tighten it down until you feel the thing is in there. You can turn it just a little bit. Just get it started. Okay. Now it turns freely. All right. And you put your upper seal back on there because this will keep any leakage inside the carburetor from happening. So, okay, like so. And there you have it. Now, this here, I take it to the point where you're going to close it. Because they say these are supposed to be 1.5 millimeter slot in there. So you get yourself a 1.5 millimeter Allen wrench and you'll look in there and you'll see just a little opening in there. Okay, that's where I start at. And I put these on. So you slide that in. There, that slides over top, so it's a tight fit. Now you can move this around to where you need it to be. And I usually don't tighten these until I'm, you know, ready to put it in a position of where it needs to be. So, make sure everything moves freely. Okay, see, everything's moving freely now. Open, close, open, close. Get that a little snug just a little bit. Alright, now, okay, for our next venture, we're going to get the needles. Now, there's two different size needles here. 04 is the long one. 05 is the short one. On my kit, the 05's on one side and the 04s are on the other. And now they say to put a number 98 O-ring on there, but it's already there. So what I do is I put a little juice on there to juice up the thread. And that one too. So the long one, 04, goes in this, your top end side. And getting that little O-ring in there is kind of tough, but we can do it. Hope you guys are having a good Friday night. Now what I do is I just tighten this all the way down and then back it off 2 turns. Sweet. Now get our 05, put it in the top up here, and we position it down in there like so. Now this one goes down in a long ways, and it depends on where you have your bottom thing. There you go. So when you finish, figure out where you want to put this at. Now, because what happens is if you look inside that thing, right there, you see the needle sticking through there. And when you move this thing in some position, you're going to have to readjust your idle up here on the top. And I'm going to figure that out right now. I want everybody to try to retighten this seal up again. Popped off on me. Problem is when you put grease on them rubber seals like that, they do come off. So okay, there we go. Ta-da! Now you're gonna feel this thing. Okay, let's take it there. I'm just gonna do like the directions say to put it there, and I'm gonna tighten my nut. You back the nut off to tighten it against the carburetor body. So there we go. Now you take your throttle screw here and you turn it all the way down till it stops. Okay, now you hold on to your throttle so it doesn't move on you. Make sure it's a little tighter in there. Yeah. Now that's wide open throttle there. That's closed. Wide open, closed. You close it, hold it in place, take it all the way down, and then back it out 1.5 turns. So let's see, where are we at there? That would be half, 1/2. That's a good starting point for this. 2 on the bottom, 1.5 on the top. So we get the carb together. Now I'm going to go over the mod that the guy had told me. Okay. Now you just seen how we put that together. And his mod was to take your throttle stop screw. This is going to be for the advanced user there. You can try it if you want, but I haven't tried it yet, but I'm going to. So I want to see what the results are here. Throttle screw. And let's see, what else was his recommendations? Oh, yeah. The big spring that we had installed in there to help it spring back. Here's what we're going to do. Now we put all these in this throttle body, okay? Now, his recommendation is to not use the spring. Leave that out. okay? Because this puts a lot of tension on the barrel. It's supposed to push it up and help it open. However, that's what that little slot right there is for, to help this thing open. It'll pick it up on its own. And with the spring tension on there, on the bottom of this, it puts binding in there. It binds that set screw against your slot, you see. So when this turns, it binds this thing because there's pressure up on this thing all the time. Now his recommendation is put that screw back in your package. Take like 1.5 millimeters off the edge of this set screw. Just file it up nice and round so it sets in further. Because the problem is, I think he was going by, if you look at the slot, the set screw has slop in there. So even if you don't want to cut this down, just make sure it's nice and smooth on the edge, okay? And he said if you do cut it down, cut one coil off your tension spring before you install the throttle stop screw. So that way it'll completely close right up. Now he claims that this guy builds like, you know, high-end race engines, so you know, I'm not doubting anything he said, because I built a lot of engines myself, not to his level though. His level's beyond up there. So those guys, they sit down and you know, they make sure everything's perfect, and they check it 50 times. So this thing will turn really easy without the spring, and it's smooth as silk. Now this one, now it's got the spring in there, it's clunky. It sticks, you see. Now, because you're going to have that rubber seal on there too, holding this all together. So, you know, it's gonna help make it solid. So you're gonna get a really smooth throttle response out of it. And if you take the 1.5 millimeter off this and the one coil off the spring, you'll be able to turn the idle way down on this thing. He was claiming he had like a little over 1,200, 1,300 RPM, and it's just sitting there putting away. So I'm going to try that mod on both my engines. I'm going to put this together the way it is first, and then I will eventually get this fired up and running and make sure we're all good with my new rocker arm thing when it comes, and my new starter motor. That this one's no good. It will not work, and I don't know why. I've tried it. You put juice to it. If you turn the shaft a little bit, when you put juice to it, the shaft is almost magnetically stuck. But when you turn the shaft, you have to turn it really hard with like pliers or something. The thing takes off wide open, you know. I don't know if anybody out there knows why they do that. I've had it apart, I've checked it, I've cleaned the brushes, and the thing gets wicked hot inside when it does start running. So it tells me there's a short in the armature or something, because I can't figure it out. So I'm just going to get another one and go from there. So that's our carburetors. Put it together like the factory says. And then don't skip any steps, because when you want to put them together, like I say, I was going to do you know, build all four of them, but I didn't want another 45-minute video. And for those of you that, you know, like hearing me talk, I appreciate that. I got a nice comment about that. I didn't think that I had a golden voice or a great communication skill, but I guess I do. So I appreciate that greatly out there. And so we're going to get our washers. So we're going to have, let's see, two of these, and I believe 3 of these. Let me count these out here. 1, 2, 3. Yes, we're going to have 3 of these. Now these stick together, so be careful. 2. And they fall all over the place too, and they're like a little deck of cards. 3. Now when I assemble these, let's see what screw it is, number 43. Here's the screw. 43 5x10s. Yes, they're up here. So your 43, your screws for your carbs to bolt them on are up here. And in this pack also is the 4 tiny little screws that hold your throttle bar together. That's this thing here that connects all your throttles together. So there's 4 of these and 4 tiny nuts. So you start off with 2 of the longer, bigger bolts there. They're a 2.5 by 10 millimeter. And what, like I say, what I do is I get a little grease and I stick the grease on the gaskets just to stick them together. Now they got, if you look at the gasket, they got a slot on one side and a hole on the other, and this is to help you put it together. So you line all that stuff up. Now if you put these in the other way, okay, by mistake, say you put the hole over where the slot is, you're not going to have a straight through hole in the center. So keep that in mind. Grease, another gasket, and put in another spacer, like so. Say the grease sticks them all together, which is kind of nice. And now on your carb body, it's got 2 round holes on it. On my other one, I had a slot on one side. When that, you know, it's kind of weird. So you're going to want to just kind of line this thing up and make sure everything works good with the hole. Make sure you got a straight hole in the center. And put some grease on that. You know, the gasket. Like so. You look through the center and you got a nice straight hole. Alright, now take one of your screws and put it in your carb body, like so. Come on. Got my big fingers working here against me. Bear with me, guys, bear with me. Let me get my little bit set here to grab the magnetics. Use Mother Earth magnetics to help me out here. Now these are really tight against the body. Okay, there's one there, and so what I'm going to do is, you'll see the bottom has a long area on here. You line that up like so, and just like that. Now put your other screw in, because what I did was I put the screw in the wrong side, because you should really put the one with all the holes first to get them all lined up. Just like that. Now you got all your gaskets and you're ready to install the carb. One and 2. Now these here, they're kind of tricky for the simple fact that with this cone out here, it's hard to, you know, get like a Allen screw driver in there. So you're gonna have to use an Allen wrench, which I think they give you plenty of them here. And I think this is the distance for, because it's got a real short end on it. Probably to get in there and make sure you can tighten things up. Yes, that's what it is. At least they thought ahead on that. That's pretty cool of them. And just snug her down good and tight. And there you have it. There's one carb. Now, normally these bars are on this side. Depends on where you run your throttle out. You can put it over here, it doesn't matter. And so there you have it. Open, close, open, close. Now if you turn around the other way, it'll be open, close, you see? This is backwards, so it depends on how you set up your rig. So, anywho, like, share, subscribe if you want. Any questions, comments, hit me up. You know, there was a, want to touch base on something else. A couple of you guys were mentioning something about when you get your crankshaft in, it wouldn't turn over because a couple of your pistons seem pretty stiff. Okay, check your rod bearing. Make sure that it's not clamping on the crankshaft. Like mine have a little tick to them. They're like tick, 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 tick. You hear it. There's a little slop in there. Now that slop will eventually swell up and make it tight. Now, the viewer that gave me the carburetor tips, he said one of his rods was not machined properly. One of the rod bearings, I should say. So he had to bolt it together and go in there by hand with a piece of sandpaper or something in there to open it up a little bit so it would fit around the rod. If you're going to do that, if you have a micrometer, that helps. Measure your rod journal and then measure the inside of your bearing with the rod and the cap bolted together to see if there's a difference. His was pretty significant, I guess. So he had one bad one there, but he took care of that. And the second thing he suggested was those two little gears in there in your water pump. Now see, when I got my water pump together, now remember my other engine, I had to use 2 gaskets. This one here I only use 1, and man, this thing is super stiff, right? I don't know why, you know. And the more you turn it, you know, the looser it gets. Well, he figured out that the 2 brass gears in there, one or both were too thick. So put down a piece of sandpaper on something flat, get your little gear and your fingers and just rub it back and forth and around circles and stuff to thin that thing out a little bit, and then put it back in. That should loosen it up enough where you're shaving it down where it's not, because what it is we got 2 Teflon seals in there and that gear is smashed in between them. So what's going to happen is it's binding here. Okay, when you turn it, this is a real strain on those teeth of that belt. You want this thing to kind of turn smooth, you know, not really hard. And so it's going to, you know, it's going to wear itself in on those Teflon seals, but then what's it doing to the seals, you know what I mean? So if you sand down those 2 little gears in there before you put your water pump together, put them in there, I think you'll be fine. And I know they do seal from one side to the other and only they don't want anything leaking by it. That's probably why they made them so tight. But, you know, I'm going to take that back apart and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to sand them down. Just take your finger and run on there back and forth just to polish them down and put it back in again. Because those gears were kind of cut, kind of rough. And you put them in there against those nice smooth seals and they're going to sit there and cut into them and grind into them, you know. So, okay, guys. I hope you guys having a great Friday night. Like I say, like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I appreciate that. And, you know, tell your friends or whatever. So, adios. You guys have a good one.